about Graviton Surge?
Boom! I was playing some Zarya earlier today. Hey everyone,
Nice.
and welcome to a hungover podcast with some gravitas or not. It doesn't matter because the hosts are here, and we're gonna bring what we have to you for this day. My name's Yvonne, and I'm one half of Hungover Gaming over there.
We've got Julien. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks.
I thought you were welcoming me.
No, you're always
welcoming.
here, so...
I'm not always here. That's the whole
I know.
thing.
That is our whole thing. Yvonne is actually never here, but you can totally find this podcast on SoundCloud and iTunes and in video form on YouTube.
We're always there.
We're always on YouTube, so definitely check us out there. But if you really, really like this podcast, or if you have a bone to pick with us, go ahead and write a review on iTunes. Maybe a 5-star, maybe a 1-star. Nothing in the middle, because we're a polarized podcast. So please tell us what you think about our podcast. That really helps with our visibility. Huh?
We're like water, that Bruce Lee saying.
Oh yeah, you gotta flow.
We're polarized.
Yes, very. Water is a polar molecule. You're right, Yvonne. In fact, that's why it dissolves salt.
And it's just
anyways.
a miracle.
It also just a miracle. Anyways, and that's why we have an ocean. Yvonne, did you know that the topic of the show today is actually going to be a very in-depth discussion about the series Stranger Things, both seasons 1 and 2.
You finally saw it.
I finally saw it, but
way to join the collective.
the collective hive
conscience
mind.
of America. We're on Mindhunter now. You might want to catch up.
I gotta watch these shows now. Anyways, we'll discuss that more in depth later on in the show, during the topic of the show section. But first, we start our podcast every single week. That was weird. We start our podcast every single week by asking each other, what media did you consume? And what did you drink last night?
Hey, so I consumed a lot of things this weekend.
Cool.
Ranging
awesome.
from various local brews in Pennsylvania. There was a local brewery that we went to one of the nights, and it had a lot of IPAs on top. Because it's a local brewery, I was like, okay, I'll get the flight.
Yeah.
Which isn't like a preset flight. It's like you can get as many of the 3 ounces as you want, but they're all different prices.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Right. Got him. What brewery was this?
Excellent question.
Okay.
I'll try to remember.
Too many flights.
But I can't really recall.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah. And so I tried a beet beer.
A beet beer.
Yeah.
BEET. BEER.
Yes.
Perhaps. Awesome. That's it's delicious. Was it red?
It was red, in fact. Oh, the company was called Here and Now.
Here and Now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Go check them out if you're in Pennsylvania. Maybe. Do they get the Hungover Gaming seal of approval? We're throwing those out willy-nilly, Yvonne. We can't be too nice with our seal of approval.
Well, to be fair, I was going to give it like a half seal. Like it's on there, but it's falling off. So like you have to keep putting it back on, but the sticky keeps falling off.
Because there's dust on the sticky part. Oh,
yeah.
No. It's over. All right,
Yeah.
well, that's bad. Okay, well, that's based off of the beet beer.
Not only. Their milk stout wasn't superb. The beet beer was very beet forward. So if you like beets, if you're a fan of the Dwight Schrute Farms, go ahead and try that beer
I
out.
like beets.
But it's kind of like a beet lemonade without any of the good parts of lemonade.
Ugh. So
it's not
like the lemon, sugar, and even the water.
Yeah. It's a bit hard to get down. I think I struggled to get even the 3 ounces down.
Yeah, you know what? I've struggled in the past to eat a beet salad, so are we even talking about the beet beer still?
Yeah,
okay.
we are. No. I swear I love beets in all forms. As a
borscht.
Russian, it's like my blood is the purple of beets because abortion beets are used in all sorts of different things.
You never are worried when your pee comes out red at all.
No,
it's never actually a problem.
Well, it always happens.
Oh god.
That's okay, right?
Yeah.
Trump's not going to take away health insurance, right?
Beets can get really overpowering. Let me put it that way. I like a good beet.
Which is why you need a strong goat cheese to go with it.
Oh, I love it with goat cheese.
Because then you pair it well. And some nuts.
Some nice olive oil, nice cracked black pepper, walnuts.
I was going to say
maybe?
like a toasted walnut right
maybe
there on that bad boy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so beet beer was not great. Their milk stout was less than stellar.
Subpar.
But they had like 5 different IPAs on the board. Okay. And they as a beer company, it's surprising to me because apparently it's a kind of a new beer company that's only open, like their bar serving area is only open 3 days a week.
Okay.
And they kind of rotate in kegs and different things. But if you look at their whole list of beers, there's something like 20 beers that they make. And half of them are IPAs, basically.
Okay. Sounds like a very hip place.
Yeah, so...
How do you even change that? You know what? I don't know. How do you make that many IPAs?
I don't know, man. The hops. You buy too many hops.
Look, let me tell you. IPAs are great and all. And sure, we're coming up on winter. It's great to have an IPA during the cold times of the year, but it's better to have a stout, to be honest with you. But
I like an IPA in the summer, to be honest with you.
I think they're a little heavy for the summer, but I'll drink an IPA any day of the week. But they do all tend to taste the same to me. So I'm gonna put it that way.
It's not a bad reason. I don't see so I tried the 7th Street Circus on Beet Beer. There was another
Beet Beer
IPA, which is something like That'll Do. I think that's what it was called. That'll Do.
Pig.
That was the best one.
Okay.
The 7th Street Circus was pretty good. It was one of those IPAs that kind of tastes like sweat.
Ugh.
You know? Like it's somewhere between Pilsner sweaty and IPA sweaty.
Beautiful. I'm glad you drank it all. Oh god.
Yeah.
I'm gonna think of that every time I have an IPA now.
Well, not all of them are like that. Some are way more citrusy. Some
you're right.
So they're muskier. It's
I kid the IPA crowd. I joke at them. I like IPAs. Don't get me wrong. It's just now they taste like sweat in my mind.
It's not as bad as Pilsner Urquell. Pilsner Urquell is pure sweat.
Yeah.
Heineken is
and a Heineken
worse.
is like if you mixed weed in with some sweat.
Yes,
that's what it tastes like. Yeah.
You basically go to a 1970s or 1970s 1980s Bob Marley and the Wailers concert, and you just kind of rub a rag on everybody and pour that into the water.
And you wring it out.
That's a Heineken.
Oh, God. Oh, disgusting.
Anyway, so in terms of media, I went back and watched a bit of The Wire because I started quoting it and it felt right. I've also consumed, for the first time, I watched the film Akira.
Oh, this is your first time?
Yeah, I'd never seen it before.
Oh, God. Wait, which version did you see?
I saw...
Did you see, because it tends not to make much sense depending on the dub that you see. I think
I saw originally, the good dub?
Or like I'm not sure exactly which one it is now, come to think of it, but I know that one of the reasons why people really like that movie or just can't even make it through it is depending on which version they're watching. It's all the scenes are the same, sure, but it all has to do with the localization of that movie, whether or not you get it. And I'm not entirely sure I saw a good one.
It was on the Funimation website, I think.
Funimation website? Oh, did you buy it or rent it?
No, so I think Funimation is like a subscription thing.
Oh, cool.
And one of the people that I was with had a subscription to it.
Oh, like Crunchyroll, but for Funimation.
Yeah, you know what's massively interesting?
Isn't that weird? What? Isn't Dragon Ball Super on Crunchyroll though? And that's totally a Funimation thing. Huh. Maybe they have a partnership with Dragon Ball Super. I don't know. Anyways.
I don't know,
What's
man.
the interesting thing?
So it takes place right before 2020 Olympics are going to be held in Tokyo.
Yeah.
And aren't the 2020 Olympics going to be held in Tokyo for real?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I think the world's going to explode that day. Or that season. I think they are.
Yeah, the 2020 Tokyo Olympics.
Look,
holy crap! Akira's
dude,
coming true.
it's like what was that other movie that came true? I can't remember.
The Terminator.
Terminator. And wait, Back to the Future. Wasn't there some controversy? Not controversy, but
no, there's a controversy because none of the things came true. We don't have
floating
skateboards.
Never mind.
We didn't
Exact
have self-tying
opposite.
shoelaces.
Sorry. In 2017
the
or
Cubs
2016.
won the World Series, but not in the right time.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, well, never mind. But anyways, I'm sure the world will crumble during the 2020 Olympics. Just be on the watch out for that one, and maybe avoid Tokyo. Unless you want to go, I would really like. Maybe we should do the Hungover Gaming Tour of Tokyo 2020.
I do actually want to.
I would
the
love to
opening
go to
ceremony
Japan, yeah.
for Tokyo 2020.
I would love to go to Japan ever. So you watch Akira. What did you think of it?
I thought it was good. I would have rather focused a little bit more on the bike gang
Those
life.
bikes were sick.
It's so cool, right? That's the whole point. The whole
cool
point of the
bikes.
movie is checking out all the cool things that happen in anime, and most of it is like the super coolness of the city and different things. So it was really interesting to see and to think about how closely linked like Blade Runner was in terms of the set design and aesthetic of Blade Runner with Akira.
They were made around the same time.
So Akira is released in 1988, but how old is the manga? Is a good question.
Was it a manga?
Yeah. The same guy who wrote the manga also developed the film. It was released in 1982 to 1990.
Okay,
and then Blade Runner was what, 86?
Yeah. So
We're the worst.
So
this is
yeah, we should have thought of this.
Blade Runner
before.
was 82. It was the same year.
Oh, whoa! So was it?
So maybe Akira was based off of Blade Runner. Anyway, they really reflected off each other. It was interesting. So I thought that Blade Runner would have taken from Akira, but maybe it was the reverse, and somehow Akira took from the world of Blade Runner because the
Blade
worlds
Runner has
were
that Chinese food in it.
super similar. Yeah, it does. Harrison Ford. Oh. Anyway, I also watched some Gunless Endless Waltz. Didn't make it through the whole thing.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
It starts real slow.
I know. It's a good movie. Go check out both of those movies if you haven't before. Those are some are pretty good anime movies. If you're looking for an anime movie to watch, I would also check out the Cowboy Bebop movie. That movie is really cool. It has one of the coolest.
I still have to make it through all of Cowboy Bebop.
Period. The show.
Yeah. Period.
I love that show.
I think I'm through the first 3 seasons.
There's only one season.
There were 3 discs then.
Oh, okay.
Of the 5 or whatever, because there was the box set that has 5 different things or whatever.
I'm pretty sure.
Maybe I'm
only
wrong.
One season. Maybe I'm wrong. I love that show.
Outlaw Star is better than Cowboy Bebop. Anyway, I think I've taken up so much time talking about nonsense that is super old.
Well.
But I also
there are 6 seasons, but there's only. But the episodes, season 1 is 5 episodes long. Season 2, there are 26 episodes of the show. That's why I thought it was only 1 season. Technically, there are 6 seasons, so.
Yeah, so I've seen through season 3, I think.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
I love that show. Yeah.
And I got to play some D&D, which is a lot of fun.
You played D&D?
I had a really good time playing D&D.
That's
I'm playing
cool.
a 3.5 edition Dwarven Fighter. His name is Torm Cruise.
Very good, very good.
And essentially, once I wrote out this big chunky backstory, and essentially once I started playing, I threw all of that out for jokes.
God damn it! You worked really hard on that. You wrote,
I know,
like, you at least spent an hour on it.
I spent well more than that.
Okay, I'm impressed.
I threw that out completely because I really wanted to make jokes.
Who was the dungeon master?
So the dungeon master is a guy who works with Laura. He's a
cool.
Good friend of ours.
And he has a campaign for you guys, or
yeah?
You guys
so this
take
campaign is, I think, going to be an amalgamation of like 6 to 8 different campaigns.
Okay.
This is weird, but we'll get through it. We're starting in the port town of Freeport, and we immediately started fighting pirates.
Okay, that's cool.
Immediately, like within the first round, 3 people went down.
Damn. So not the longest campaign, I hear.
Yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen again. We found some magic potions that up some people's health points.
Oh, nice.
So that was a solid start.
You'll have to update us on that in the future, and also tell us in the comment section below if you want us to become a D&D channel, because it could happen.
And I do. I'm going to comment below.
We could look into making some videos, just sharing your characters, because I'm not that creative. I can't make up a fucking character in that game. But you could totally share your character, maybe a campaign that you wrote. I don't know. That would be cool.
Yeah, I don't think I'd go happening. Classic D&D. I think we should do
cyborg D&D.
Yeah, I think we should take like a movie
Blade Runner
setting.
D&D.
Blade Runner D&D would be pretty cool. That's also called Shadowrun. Anyway, what about you, Julien?
I wanted to actually use this time to plug a video that I made for our channel. It should be already out because this is coming out the Monday after the Wednesday is coming out. But I made a loaf of bread, and I filmed it, and I made a video about it. So you guys can go check that out if you want to learn how to make a loaf of bread. I think it's actually a pretty useful skill, and it's a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun making it. So
I'm glad that you're using this platform to leaven. You're leavening this platform.
Very good
to promote the other.
Very leaven of you. Hell rising. Let's rise. Okay. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Oh my god. Anyways, I made a Tom Collins during that video, so that's what I drank. Didn't drink. Oh, I think I had some whiskey at some point. I don't know. No.
Was it in the jar?
No.
I can't believe my pun has thrown you off so much that you can't
Dude,
function right now.
I love puns too much. I have to think about. They start breaking my mind apart. But also, I beat Horizon Zero Dawn on stream. I beat Horizon Zero Dawn on stream. You can follow me on Twitch. Twitch.tv/GGBisGood. You can subscribe to my channel because it goes straight back into this channel. All the subscription money, of which I have 2. You can use your Twitch Prime to subscribe to us, or you can just donate to us. Whatever. That's fine.
Horizon Zero Dawn is what I play when I drink champagne and play Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, go check out our Let's Play. Yvonne plays the Frozen Wilds DLC, which is pretty cool. I'll be picking that up soon enough. But Horizon Zero Dawn, that's a hell of a game. I really liked the ending, actually. But we won't spoil it on the cast because, hell, it's a game that I think most people are just picking up, perhaps now. Maybe they missed it in February, and now there's a Game of the Year edition, so maybe they're picking it up and checking it out, so we don't want to spoil it. I definitely highly suggest you pick that up if you have a PS4. I also played some more Destiny at some point. I think I did the Nightfall. And then, of course, the topic of the show, which we can move into now, is Stranger Things. I just finished season 2. I've been watching them sort of 2 or 3 episodes at a time per day. So I've sort of made it through the entirety of that show. And I wanted to have a spoiler cast with you, Yvonne, because I think we've given people enough time. At the rate people watch these shows and get obsessed with them, we've given them an entire month to think about this by now, right? It came out
It's already
October
out
27th.
of the... It's less than a month.
Yes, slightly less than a month.
It's incredible totally how fast it tore through... it tore through the public conversation. I think this goes back to kind of what we were talking about last week in terms of social media saturation.
Yeah.
It's like the season 1 was a slow creeping hit where it kind of developed a following and got larger.
Did it just show up one day on Netflix?
Yes, it just showed up one day on Netflix, and
that's cool.
I think in the first day, just a few people watched it.
And they're like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, it was in the summer. It was July 15th, 2016.
Okay, so it was a year ago, about.
And then less than that, really.
More than that.
July to
October. It came out October 27th.
That's how years work.
Well,
I swear I have a degree.
Just so everyone knows, we're going to just delve deep into this show. So maybe you've been looking for a podcast, and this was your podcast that wanted to spoil it for you. So we're going to spoil the show, or at least at some level, we're going to spoil it. If you want no spoilers, go ahead, stop listening. We give you permission. Go watch the show, then come back and listen to the podcast. So it's starting now. Spoiler mode on. Yvonne, I really like this show. Spoilers.
So we talked about it before. You have a fascination with like high school movies, especially the ones that
80s.
Resemble things that were made in the 80s.
Yeah, I really like the aesthetic and time period that the show is set in, and I also like the area. Suburban area in America. I mean,
well, Is it a suburb or is it just a small town? It feels just like a small town.
Yeah, it's definitely a small town, but you can sometimes see small towns as a suburb of a city, right?
Yeah, it depends on how far away. This is Indiana, so who knows? I don't know.
Does Hawkins actually exist, right? That sounds really familiar for some reason.
Does it exist? I don't know.
Well, let's Google that.
So, while I'm Googling this over here, your impressions, why did you start watching it?
So I started watching it, well, the only person that actually ever told me to watch it was my girlfriend, Nikki, who's been on the podcast many times. Go check out her videos, but, and she's been on this channel, that's what I'm saying, the videos she's in. So she told me to watch it. She was like, "Oh, it's 80s. You love 80s. You're always talking about the 80s because you're fucking insane. I don't know why. You're always talking about the 80s. But you'd love this. It's about 80s and school. You love both those things for some reason." And I was always of the mind, well, I don't need to watch another show. I don't watch any shows to begin with. And there's a reason for that. I don't really like watching serialized TV or that sort of thing. I just don't like... I mean, I got obsessed with Breaking Bad, but that was, I don't know how many years ago now, 6 years ago, about, maybe 4, I don't know. But that's the only show, that was the last show I really watched that I really, really liked. And I just don't like the idea of having to spend so much time being passive. I know I play a lot of video games, that's dumb to say, but... and I'd spend countless hours playing those games. But I feel like video games are a little more passive in terms of their form of entertainment. Not passive, sorry. Active. Did I say active? They're a little more active in their form of entertainment. And so I really like that aspect of video games. I actually feel like I'm doing something as opposed to just sitting there on the couch for 9 hours watching Stranger Things.
Which is why I do both.
Yeah, see, you have the true gift, Yvonne. The gift, do not underestimate how powerful that gift is. I wish I could do that. I would watch everything if I could do that. I'm not kidding. I would watch everything because I want to keep up with the zeitgeist, the kids. I want to be a kid. I want to be hanging out with the kids, talking about all the cool shows, I would do that if I could, but I can't because I like to focus on the game a little too much for some reason. But yeah, so the reason why I started watching the show is actually because they had the Stranger Things cast, the four boys, on Jimmy Fallon recently. I guess it must have been recently. Must have been promoting the show, and they didn't even talk about the show that much. They did some weird dance segment where they probably they totally put those kids on the spot and made them make up a dance. I would be so nervous if I was doing that. They had this spinning wheel of dance moves or just phrases that they had to make up a dance for on the spot, and that's some crazy shit. I that's the kind of crazy improv shit that I would never be able to do. So I applaud them for doing that. And then they did, I now realize, a dance that is related to Stranger Things because they had the upside down. They flipped the camera upside down for the dance. I didn't understand that reference until now, but at least it didn't spoil anything. And then what really convinced me was just these kids talking to each other on the show and how they interacted with Jimmy Fallon, and they convinced me that they were like really cool kids and good child actors or whatever. And I think that's what this show has going for it the most, is they have an excellent cast of characters that are well written and well developed throughout the series, I think, for the most part. And they really cast the show very well, I think. I
think so too.
I can't understate that. They did an amazing job with that.
I
really like the show.
You considered this cast versus like It, right?
Yeah,
it's a similar structure of characters, and I feel like It, although it has one actor that is the same, I think in general the casting of Stranger Things is a little bit stronger overall.
Yeah, I think so as well. I agree with that. I really like these characters, but I think also it's tough to say that you've spent so much more time with these characters, so you feel more of a connection to them. So that's really what people get drawn to with TV, or at least in my opinion. But I always see TV shows just, they want to keep making money and keep being in your mind and being the talked about show, so they keep making seasons, more and more seasons, and then there's a point where they screw up the show, right? I think The Walking Dead is a pretty good example of that. I never really liked that show to begin with. I watched a couple episodes, but honestly, it's sort of pointless to me, that show, because what are they even doing now? I mean, I'm not watching it right now. I don't know what they're doing.
Anything since
but
season
to be
1.
honest with you, what the hell, right? What do you think is happening? Do you think they've made any progress? Are they making a cure? Does it matter?
No.
I don't want to talk about Walking Dead, right? It's not the point. I feel like they're just in the same place that they were in season 1, just maybe with new characters. It doesn't really matter. And there's no progression of story. That's why I don't like that show. But Stranger Things, on the other hand, I really liked. They had a solid conclusion at the end of the first season, and then they went into the second season. I think you could clearly see that they made a lot of money, or they had a much higher budget for the second season, I think. I don't know if you noticed, or if you agree with that. I think they had a lot more CG, for one. They also had a lot more of aerial shots, which I assume cost a lot of money, and I think the production value was increased a lot after the popularity of the first season.
That's probably true. Even doing something as small aesthetically, but large in terms of monetary, as having Ghostbusters in there, right?
Right, yeah, and yes,
the
so
music
a lot of
for Ghostbusters, and just like the amount of money needed to get the rights to certain things.
Yeah.
It's just it takes a lot more money I think, yeah, there's definitely an increase between season 1 and season 2 in terms of scope and things, but I think that's like the increase in budget matched the increase in scope of what the whole story was going to be, and zooming out a little bit more. And I think that that's important if we look at it as a sequel to the first season, so Stranger Things 2, right? So it could be season 2, or it could be looked at as the long form sequel to Stranger Things 1.
Yeah, I agree. It's certainly a sequel. Certainly, I'm glad all the same characters are there. You know, you love them from the first season. They're growing up now. I think that's really cool that you can see that, and it also plays into the story, and in certain ways. And I definitely I didn't like season 2 as much personally. I think they tried to hit too many beats that seemed like fan servicey in a way. I think they were trying to hit. Oh, they're like, oh, you like this show because it was 80s themes, so now they have to throw in all of these 80s references like Ghostbusters, and a lot of music from the 80s was played, and that they always had. Now they have to add this sort of this jock guy that's an asshole to everyone, but he gets all the girls, and they have, I don't know, and they have to have a party scene.
There are a few things that I think just weren't thought through, or like were half scrapped on the cutting room floor, that were just put in through development, that weren't really super fleshed out.
They weren't well incorporated into the story. It's fine to have them if it makes sense. And it does make sense because it's the 80s. Everyone loved the Ghostbusters back then, so I'm not saying that was fine.
Yeah, there's some things which are touching on that nostalgia button, right? So the Ghostbusters and different things, because it's necessary. But outside of the scope of nostalgia, outside of the scope of nostalgia for the 80s, there are a lot more problems that I have with season 2 than I had with season 1.
Same here. I mean, personally, the number one thing I did not like was they turned it into a zombie horror film at the end. At the last 3 episodes, they sort of turned into this zombie horde of dogs, and they had, I don't know, they just had a bunch of beats that from movie, you know, like the classic scene where they did that running to the elevator scene like 5 times, where they're closing the elevator and pushing the button and getting chased by zombies essentially, and they're like, oh, but then cut and now it opens the elevator and everyone's dead. I don't know, I've seen that scene so many times, and I just didn't want to see the show, which I really, really like the show, and I think that it's doing something different. I didn't want to see them throw have the same beats as every other zombie movie, you know, every other horror movie. And I didn't even really want it to turn into a horror movie, to be honest with you. I thought it sort of turned into that, and they were trying to get you with a bunch of jump scares. But I'll admit, I still had fun watching it, because the cast, they really did a great job with bringing in characters that I didn't initially like, and then making me like them, like Steve. I didn't like him at all when he was dating, I forget her, Barbara. No, Nancy. Yeah, not Barbara. She's dead. Oh God. And then. Yeah, and then bring him in, and they made me like. I really liked his character as he developed towards the end of season 2. I thought he was really interesting, sort of taking on the babysitter role essentially. But
a lot of great memes came out of the babysitter Steve role.
Yeah, I am sure they did. I don't know. I don't pay attention to anything because I'm an idiot. But and that's why we're talking about this. And I finally caught up, guys. All right, just cut me some slack. I'm sorry. I can't watch it, but I thought he was really cool at the end of the show, and or end of season 2. That was great. But I really didn't like the zombie issue.
I see. I
Because I
think
don't like zombies.
I think yeah. So I think the issue of switching how the villain works from season 1 to season 2 really
Mm-hmm.
changed a lot of the dynamic of the show.
Yeah.
Because season 1, there's the singular stalking Demigorgon, right? It's
Demidog.
kind of in season 1. Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
In season 1, there's the Demigorgon, so it was kind of like a Jaws thing, right? You're more scared of him than when he's about to appear, and this telltale symbols and signs and different things, and there's this automatic play between who the villain is. Plus, you have man versus animal, kind of, and then you have man versus man because you have the conflict of the kids and Eleven versus Papa, Matthew Modine's character. So there's that dynamic, and then in season 2, they made the villain Will, one of the kids, be the villain.
Yeah,
and it's super restrictive because they're too scared to kill him off.
of course.
Which I thought they would kill Will off and have Max just kind of replace him as the quartet. So that was interesting that they chose not to, but it seemed like in season 1 there was a lot of challenges. There's a lot of things that almost worked or didn't work, but in season 2, no matter how badly the plan was going, everything turned out fine. Right. Except for Bob.
Oh, God. Don't. Oh, Bob. Good old Bob.
But even like Paul Reiser lives, and
yeah, right.
And Hopper, they reach him in the last moment possible, and basically the only character that can be expended is expended. He has Sean Astin has one job in the entire season, and that's to be this purely good character that is also kind of like a Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, right.
He can just see the writing on the wall,
of
the
course,
drawings on the
clearly.
wall, and identify it. And then his entire job is to be this purely good character that dies to the corruption, right? So there's not a lot of nuance, there's not a lot of intrigue or play with that, and because of the way that the villain is set up with the demidogs and the big thing and Will being part of the same thing, it doesn't engage with the same stakes,
right?
And I think that really that affects the way the story can be told, and I think that is a lot. It's not lazy writing, but it's like it's time crunch writing, right? So it works on the page, but it doesn't work in the general.
Or they didn't find a way to make it work. Let's say there's probably a way to make it work. But yeah, I agree with you. I like the way they set up the villain, even though it's pretty much the same villain. I would say not the same exact villain, but the same form. Whatever this alternate reality is that has these beings in there that just want to eat humans for whatever reason, and everything, every living thing on the other side, the upside down, whatever.
They're delicious. Any questions?
God damn. I did really, I like the whole idea that that they're playing with the idea of multiverses, and there's this portal to the other universe, and it's kind of slimy and disgusting. I like that idea, and I think that they made it look cool, and although I would like to see anything other than these horrible beings being there. But I did like in the first season, like you were saying, how they set up the enemy, or the bad guy in the movie, not the movie, the show. They sort of teased you many times without showing not giving too much screen time to the that whatever it is, the Demogorgon. I think that's really good to build up suspense, but it ends up being, I think, even in the first season, it might have went on a little too long. I think these seasons are a pretty good medium in terms of compared to other shows. So they're definitely doing a much shorter season than, let's say, I guess Game of Thrones. I don't know how many episodes are
There are 10 episodes in a Game of Thrones.
Okay, so they're doing one less. But a lot of other TV shows do a lot. I mean, and that has to do with...
your standard network TV show is like
I know.
22, 23 episodes. So
I don't want to compare it to that because
20 episodes of garbage.
Right, they have to... yeah, exactly. They have to conform to the networking policies and all those things, and they have to fill a certain amount of time. So they have to write a bunch of filler in. So I like that this show is a Netflix exclusive, so they have full reign to write whatever they want, I assume. So I like the length,
you
the amount of
can see
episodes.
That they have full right to write whatever they want, because episode 7 of season 2 happens.
Yeah, that
you don't get episode 7, which is The Lost Sister, which is the super horrible interpretation of punk in the 80s.
I didn't like it.
It was bad.
I didn't like that episode. Yeah, and I like the punk shit in the 80s too. I didn't like that episode at all. I think I sort of see how, I mean, obviously it ties into the story, fine. But I didn't like how that character you completely forget about. Because she's in the first scene of episode 1, right?
Right.
And their whole crew is. And then literally no mention until episode 7. So you've watched, like, you just completely forget about them. I guess, right? So at some point. And then they're not mentioned at all. Again, did she even tell Hopper about them? No.
Not yet, no.
They literally just interact with Elle, which is cool. It's sort of like she went to Yoda, literally, and became more powerful. That's what I was thinking in my head. I was like, who the fuck is she fucking Luke Skywalker now? Like, use power.
It's a really bad training montage on the top of the mountain, or in the.
It was an hour-long training montage, essentially.
It was bad, and I mean,
I didn't like it.
It is a way that they're trying to develop the scope of the story a bit more. Yeah. So they're enlarging the world of Hawkins, and then they were trying to enlarge the world in general by delving into other numbers past 11, right? Or before 11. So, but they did it in a way that was clumsy and ham-handed, and literally everybody hates that episode. And
okay. I'm glad. I thought maybe I would be the only one.
Yeah, no. It's probably the biggest failure in terms of
the season,
and of the show at large. But it does give you the bitchin' Millie Bobby Brown 11
That was
look.
Hilarious. Oh, well, the look was hilarious, but I like that I like when she says bitchin'. She's really cute. She's a great actor. She plays the role very well. She understands the role.
The British invasion.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to say, speaking of British, this is the only show that I have reference to in BBC, Luther. Not related to this show at all, but I wanted to talk about the structure of that show and how I think that most shows are structured in England, is that they generally have maybe 4 episode seasons, and specifically Luther season 2 is a 2-episode season. So these are basically just extended movies at that point. So I think at that point you get to tell a much more concise story in the way that you want to, and you don't have to keep bringing it back to milk the cash cow, right? That's what Walking Dead is doing right now, in my opinion. And Luther, I don't think they made 3 seasons, I think, and they're just done. I think most shows in England end up going for 1 season, and then they're like, we told our story, that's it. And that's what we want to tell. And so I think that's personally a better way, because I really, really like Luther. If you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. It's a
Welcome
detective.
To the Luther
spoiler cut. Yeah, it's definitely a very good show. It's a detective show. Idris Elba is the main character. I don't know if you've seen it, Yvonne.
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
It's so cool. He looks so cool in that show. His tie is so cool. Anyways, it's like a gritty show that takes place in London, and there's all these crazy crimes that Luther is solving. Oh, well, it's mostly just one crime.
So I think that the main way to tie that in,
what I was trying to say is that Luther, that I feel like Stranger Things may have gone on, both seasons may have gone on an episode or two too long. That's what I was trying to say.
I think, my opinion of that is that you think that Luther is super cohesive and tells the same story throughout, whereas there are a lot of times, because of I don't know if it's the number of episodes or just that directors and creative people want to try some different thing out with the atmosphere and the world that they've built in American TV, but you get a lot more play in terms of what the whole show is about. So it goes from a sci-fi season 1, right?
Yeah.
A 1980s sci-fi season 1. And you're looking for more of that kind of, let's delve into sci-fi nerd culture, tie it into Dungeons and Dragons, so there's a fantasy aspect to it. And then it kind of becomes a horror show. But then you get episodes like The Lost Sister, and it's totally different. It's you're going with a heist crime style movie.
I assume someone else directed that, right? Excuse me.
I don't know who the directors are for each individual episode, but I just think that this is an episode where they were attempting to take it in a different direction, and it just didn't work. I don't know if it didn't work because the atmosphere that they were trying to create was the wrong atmosphere, or it doesn't mesh with the characters that they were trying to make, or they didn't have enough time to find a way to make it cohesive and mesh. But it was just bad.
It was that specifically, right? That was a bad episode. But I mean, we can obviously, we're saying these things because we really like the show, so we want to critique it in a way that we think is reasonable. So I mean, I don't want to turn anyone off by our conversation, but I want to say a few positive things that I really liked about the show. Aside from all the characters and child actors alone, those were amazing. The best, literally, I think the best child acting I've ever seen in my life. I can't believe that they directed that. I don't know if it was the director or how they found them or where they're from. Like, they're amazing. I think they must have been directed very well as well, right? You have to give some credit to the director,
in the
right?
directing of kids, so.
Really? I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't look
specifically with the last episode, and the fact that Sadie Sink, who plays Max.
Oh yeah.
There in the script, it didn't initially say that she had to kiss Lucas.
Right.
And then one of the Duffer Brothers made a joke like, "Oh, are you ready for your kiss?" And then she freaked out, and so the Duffer Brothers made them kiss.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
That's horrible. They should never do that.
It's kind of weird, right?
That's a little weird.
It's somewhere in between gross and I don't know if you're doing it for an artistic choice at that point. So why are you forcing it, right?
Yeah, that's weird.
Especially when it does, like, a lot of the connections that the characters are exploring in this season, like, especially between Max and Lucas, I think it's I don't know. Maybe kisses are pretty innocent in general, but I think it doesn't need to have that to feel satisfied. I think it actually feels overly cheesy with that kiss there.
Yeah, it wasn't necessary.
The same way that
Definitely wasn't necessary.
For God's sakes, just put Eleven and Mike in a room for 2 episodes before they meet in the last episode.
Yeah.
Mike is such a useless character this season.
Yeah, he did not get the screen time that he should, or wasn't really written into the story at all.
But if we're just talking about characters
useless.
who are doing well, like season 1, Mike is such a badass character, and season
He was
2,
great, yeah.
Mike has like what 50 lines in the whole thing until
I
he
know.
starts
I was
talking to
pretty
11.
impressed that they took him out. Yeah, it was mostly 11 and what's his name, Dustin.
Dustin, who gets
in the show.
Oh my god, he's so annoying.
Yeah.
I like the character, but when he gets fan serviced to no end, like
towards the end, he's like demi-dog, you know, mixing dog and demi-gorgon. Okay, it doesn't matter. Yeah, he kept.
Yeah, I know. From the beginning, I was afraid that this season, from the trailer, that this season would have too much. Dustin,
I think they did fine. Dustin. In the first 2 episodes, he was hitting comedic bits very well. And this is not to discredit the actor in any way. Obviously, I think he's very good as an actor.
I agree.
He's great. But I think they just wrote him. Like you say, I think they wrote him a few too many lines that were just not necessary at all. I don't think.
The other thing being like characters being used well and not whatnot in terms of writing and bringing that out in the story. How come Billy, the most useless character in the entire season, who's angry for no reason at Max continuously, he gets a character moment attempting to explain why he's so angry, and Max has no character moments in the entire show?
Yeah, absolutely. No, none at all, right?
So it's kind of like, okay.
Except for when... Well, no, she gets one. She gets one when she talks to Lucas on the roof of that bus and tells him about her divorced parents and all that stuff, right?
It's not like a real serious character beat. It's
I guess not.
It's not.
It's tough.
I feel like it's still explaining Billy's character and not her character.
Well, this is the problem they face. I mean, you can either extend the season, right, to explain these characters and give them an episode each. No, like give them one episode for both characters, right? And then you face the problem of, is this season too long now? It's already an episode longer than the last season. So people are we gonna lose people's attention? It is. It's 9 episodes, season 2, and season 1 is 8 episodes, right?
Oh shit, it is.
Yeah, I know this because I just literally finished it today. So, I
didn't realize that season 1 was 8. Right. But maybe they could have cut the Lost Sisters episode.
Yeah, or they could have given that to these 2 characters, or something, or half an episode.
I'm also saying, like, cut out the useless jokes that are, like, at some point I was like beating my head against my desk at how annoying it was to have this character. Just
no, I see. Well,
give that moment to Max.
Yeah, who is clearly an interesting character, and not only because of her red hair, she just sticks out in the crew, but she's actually, I think she was a really cool character to introduce, and they sort of they didn't play with, they used her as a moment to make Elle angry, right? Mm-hmm. When she was zooming around Mike, who also doesn't have much of a role. And then I like the interaction where she tries to say hello to Elle when she first meets him, and Elle just walks past her. I thought that was really cool. I think that was a really good inclusion. But then they have no other interaction at all to explain that. I mean, I see why Elle's angry. I get it. But Elle doesn't... Like, that's just not explored at all in the show.
Because there's no time.
Because they ran out of time. I mean, they had no time in the context of the show, and they had no time to explain that at all. But then why are you even including it?
But that's a story editing flaw. Like,
yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
And the other thing is,
it's either extend the show
in a world where women rarely have a role in shows.
Exactly. Also a problem.
And only one woman can succeed in any given moment of any movie. Why have the girls antagonize against each other?
I don't know, man. It's look, I want to say that this show really, I really like it a lot, and I like that we're going back to the 80s, and I
What
keep
do you
saying
feel
it,
about
the
the vodka
80s.
journalist?
I thought he was awesome. Gotta water it down. That was hilarious.
It's not
He was
super
hilarious.
weird that he's just like, "Hey, high schoolers, why
Yeah, you
don't you boat
go
in
fuck
my
each
home?"
other. Yeah, that was super weird, but he was also a really weird character to begin with.
I really like that actor. He's super awkward.
I like. I think he reminds me a lot of John Malkovich.
Oh yeah, that's a
Yeah,
solid comparison.
and I thought that Hopper was a good combination of Harrison Ford and Seth Rogen for some reason. I thought I saw both of them, like Harrison Ford and his father figure part, and then he's also he has some funny lines, so
And
and he
he's
just sort of
fat.
looks like, and he's fat, and so he sort of looks like Seth Rogen, so that's what I thought. But no, what I was trying to say, I thought that they nailed the 80s aesthetic really well in terms of clothing and setting, and I did really like the soundtrack of the show as well. I thought
Yeah,
it was very good, including especially all the original music. I mean, obviously you can hit all these 80s tunes, no problem. Everyone will like it. Should I stay or should I go? That's easy. But when you come to writing an original score, I think this show did really well with a lot of 80s synth stuff in the background, especially the what is it, title screen is really cool. I really like title screens and title sequences for some reason. I think this title sequence is really cool and goes well with the show.
I think
I
it's up
think
there. I think James Bond has the #1 title
James Bond,
sequence
obviously. Come
of
on.
all time. But Stranger Things
Literally
is
every title
probably in the
sequence of
top
James
15.
Bond.
That's an interesting top. We should do a top 10 of title
Title
sequences.
sequences. I could look into it. I can't remember. I have to look. I have to think about that. That's a really good idea, actually, because title sequences are awesome. Like that's how you get people ready for your show. You
And
know
I
when
think
you.
they've had a revolution title
I think so
sequences.
too. Yeah, and what was the show? There was one show that had an episode that had the title sequence like 30 minutes into the show or something, because they had this whole scene. I can't
Well,
remember.
there was Dexter,
Maybe it was
where
Dexter.
when he had the kid Harrison, and like
Yeah.
he in the episode, he's going through all of the duties that he would do
Oh
during the
yeah,
title
that's
sequence, and
hilarious.
everything goes wrong. Like his perfect white shirt has
Right,
stains
right,
on it.
right,
His
right. Yeah.
boot, his shoestrings
That was
break.
funny. I
That was
remember
really
that
really
episode.
clever.
That look, that's a perfect example of a show going on too long though. So I love that show though. That was like one of the first shows I ever got into, but also proved to me that this is why I don't watch TV.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they super jumped the shark. Anyway,
Yeah.
so what's interesting is the development sequence of Stranger Things going forward. I think that since there was such a short one, and they felt how the development of it was, they're giving themselves a lot more time between season 2 and season 3.
Oh, so
So
they're gonna take maybe 2 years or a
season
year and a
3
half at
is
least.
slotted to come out sometime in early 2019.
Oh wow. Okay, so we'll talk about that in 2019 if this podcast still exists then.
Yeah, so that hopefully it does.
I think we can at least keep the podcast alive.
Yeah.
If we disband the rest because life gets in the way, I think we can keep the podcast alive. Why are we talking about this on air? Oh God.
So in any case, in 2019, when we're preparing for Akira,
Yeah.
and the Tokyo Olympics, we'll have
Real life
Stranger
Akira
Things 3 to look forward to.
to talk about. Yeah,
But I
and I'll
think that
actually watch it
it'll
the
be
day it comes
good
out.
for the Duffer Brothers, for the whole writing staff and everything, to get to relax
To
on the
perfect
pressure
it.
of getting the show produced and put out,
Yeah,
and give themselves some time to do it well.
right. Look, I like. I mean, despite all the criticisms we threw out there, which I think is all valid, I agree with everything you were saying. I did really like season 2. I still liked it. I had a great time watching it. And I think it sets up perfectly for season 3. You don't know what's coming. It's not like not like I know what's coming in season 3. And I think, excuse me, leaving it open ended like that, but also sort of on a cliffhanger is really cool.
I know what's going to happen in season 3.
You do?
Of course I do.
What is going to happen?
So 11, because she used so much power to close the dimension gate, she can't access her powers to start with.
Do you think it picks up right where it leaves off, or a year later?
I think it'll pick off very soon from where it was. Or they'll have mention or like series of flashbacks to 11 not being able to use her powers.
Yeah.
And perhaps she's going to school and or not, because, the Paul Reiser deal. But in any case, she's going to have to seek out other numbers to help try and retrain her abilities. But they're being held by Matthew Modine. And there's going to be a conflict between British daughter, Indian-looking, British-sounding.
Right.
Was there
Couldn't
8?
Really pick up her.
She's from Denmark.
Oh, that's probably why I couldn't.
So
pick
the
up
actress
her
is
accent.
from Denmark. But it's going to be a conflict between Papa 8 and 11.
Okay.
And in general, then they're going to have the whole conflict with the whatever the evil power in the Upside Down is. But the main conflict will be not the Upside Down.
I'd like to see an alternate reality version of every single character. Not kidding. That would be the worst. It would be so difficult to do.
11.
Bizarro 11. Bizarro. Also, no, I won't. I don't. I have no idea what's gonna happen. I'm excited though, and I hope they do an awesome job. I'm glad they're taking some time off. It's sort of like the Assassin's Creed thing, where they took 2 years off to make this current Assassin's Creed, and apparently it's very good. So I hope that, and I think apparently they changed up the series just enough to make it really interesting. So I hope that this series does the same thing. Not that it was getting stale at all. I don't think it was getting stale. There was only 2 seasons. But I think it'll be really great to come back when everyone's sort of settled after watching season 2 and they're all done. I hope it comes out in a time where there's not much else for everyone else to do, like unlike the day it came out this time. So the day that it came out was Assassin's Creed, Super Mario Odyssey, Stranger Things 2. I think a movie came out. Literally too many things came out. So not that I was even watching it then, but I'm sure a lot of people scrambled to watch this show. So I hope they release in a fairly vacant time period.
I realize that this
really
goes
important.
against Netflix's whole model.
Yeah.
But I think that they made a mistake by not releasing it like in batches.
Oh, you mean like a couple episodes at a time?
Like
3 episodes,
3 episodes at a time or something, and keep the dialogue going.
Yeah, because otherwise you get what happened to Nikki, where she literally watched it in one night. I don't even know how, because I think she downloaded. You can download episodes right, on your phone. So she must have watched some on the way to work, on the way coming back, and then until 3 a.m. or something.
I
agree
just think that it's like it's such a blip and then goes away in our fast-paced media setting where nothing is really fully engaged with or fully thought through or researched at all. Everything is just like hot take.
Which is why I'm glad we had this conversation about this show. I think I don't know if anyone else would be willing to have this conversation with me at all now, because who cares about this show anymore, right? Why do we even do this podcast? What a waste of our time. God damn it. But yeah, I agree with you. Sort of ties into our previous topic. Everything's so it's in the moment when it's in the moment for a day or an hour or a second, and then it's gone.
Just like it was in the moment right after Trump got elected that People
he
worried
got
about
elected.
Ajit Pai.
Yes, and we need to talk about that before we end this podcast. What do you know exactly what day that they're voting
December
for?
14th, I believe.
December 14th. So this is coming out on December 1st, I believe. This podcast, the Monday after Thanksgiving, this podcast is coming out. And I think that's December 1st. Or it might be November 30th. But yeah, so we wanted to, if you made it this far into the podcast, thank you very much. We would like to thank you immensely. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. But we have to talk about something a little pressing, well, very pressing, because you're using the internet. You use the internet to download this podcast. And I assume if you listen to podcasts, you use the internet quite often. So, Yvonne, take us through what's going down in December.
So Ajit Pai has urged that the FCC...
He's the head of the FCC,
yeah, he's
if you don't know.
The commissioner, I believe?
Commissioners, yeah, I think he's the commissioner.
She's chairman, FCC
chairman. Sorry.
So he was put in place by Trump. He is a Republican that used to be a lawyer for Verizon, I think, and is a big, or maybe AT&T. He's a big trumpeter of the communications sector anyway, big internet. And he is seeking to end net neutrality protections that were put in place under the previous FCC chairman during Obama's presidency. So, in any case, on December 14th, there's going to be a vote to basically take down net neutrality. What would it mean for you or me, Julien? It would mean that there would be no safety guarantees for differentiated traffic on websites, for differentiated rates and preferential rates and changing. So now you're not just going to have to worry about how much internet, but how the speed of the internet that you're receiving. Yep. So there's multiple scale balances, and Ajit Pai says, we just need the companies to be transparent in all their things and what they're doing, and that's fine. That's all the restrictions and all the watch that the FCC needs. However, we've seen under the supervision of the FCC, even with net neutrality standards put in place, companies like Time Warner Spectrum weren't delivering the packages that they said they were.
Yeah, absolutely, right.
So if you go back and listen to, I know it's super raw in terms of the recording and everything, but go back and listen to episode 2 of this podcast. You will hear a lot more in-depth conversation about net neutrality, what it is, and how it'll change things. But essentially, think about things like YouTube or Facebook and how they got started only because there was an even playing field. But if you have differentiated playing fields, then great apps, great websites, products from small businesses won't be able to get off the ground just because of barriers that can be put into place. And the vote is scheduled to go through on December 14th, and it's apparently it will be upheld that net neutrality will be taken down because it'll be a 3-2 vote based on party lines. So again, these will be people that these will be people making major decisions, 5 people making major decisions that are being challenged by the likes of Google, right? So Google is fighting against the break apart of net neutrality just because of the different levels of barriers and things that will hamper their own business. So, and you've seen plenty of posts on Wikipedia and other Reddit and other pages in the previous cycles of when net neutrality was challenged, saying that without this, these pages could go away. And you also have the ability of companies. Anyway, it's super important to maintain net neutrality. Go back and really watch episode 2 if you really want to get into it. I really want to continue talking about it because it's such an important topic that has a lot of diversity in terms of what you can expect from it.
We can cover it once the vote is over. We can cover it a little more. Maybe we won't be able to because of the internet. But I think that'll be a pressing time to talk about it. Obviously, we should talk about it before. I understand. so that's why we encourage you to watch the second episode. And I wanted to ask.
We've asked our viewers to make sure that they've contacted their Congress people, and previously, because there was an action between when we released that episode and now, where it was important to get out the vote, or not get out the vote, but get out the notice to your congressperson that it's important to preserve this. So this is kind of another one of those re-ups.
I wanted to ask, would it be a similar, if this vote goes through, would it be a similar situation like it is in China, where there's a lot of restricted, like you can't access Facebook in China, for instance, but I assume they have very good internet. But would it be
not necessarily? It's more
not necessarily similar to that.
It'll be more like
they're gonna it'll be difficult to load certain web pages. They'll load slower, or they won't load at all.
So for instance, it'll be more like the transition from when we had those unlimited plans in cell phones to highly restricted internet plans. So the prices went up. You got less internet, and if you were still on the unlimited plan, they would throttle your speeds down. So what will happen with no net neutrality restrictions is that companies have no real barriers to slowing down internet speeds, preventing access to other to certain websites. So, for instance, they could have active things that would block news stories that reported bad things against them. So your internet provider could actively suppress news against itself. And different things like that. And access to, let's say you want to watch YouTube videos. Well, as I do, let's say you cut the cord, you have YouTube, you have Netflix, like that we were just talking about, you have Hulu. Now, internet service providers are linked into companies that have their own channels, right? So they have the TV service provider Video on Demand. As internet went up in terms of internet demand, like Netflix and Hulu, they saw their revenue from video on demand go down hard. So now they're going to try and balance that out. For instance, they could try and balance that out by charging higher rates to view Netflix or different things. So it's not just the amount of download speed that you'll have, but like if you're going to do streaming on these certain websites, then you're going to get throttled hard. And even though you're paying Netflix to have X amount of service provided, then Netflix will have to battle with the internet service provider. Then rates might go up on both ends. It'll be a whole mess of things.
It's like that moment when you realized you had to have Xbox Live to watch Netflix on your Xbox.
Yes, that is a very good analogy.
God damn it. Well, go FCC yourself. That is still a website, I think. And you can easily contact your representative there. But I think, we can contact the New York representative, but is there an easy way for people to contact their congressman or
there are apps
senator
that you can download now? That help place.
You won't be able to download them after, though.
Yeah.
But yes.
You can download them now, and they help you find who your representative are. I don't have one.
You don't have one?
Yeah,
okay. Sorry.
I just kind of know who my representatives are, and so I email them.
Well, some people don't. Just wanted
to. You can always look up your address and voting district. We can put a link in the description to find that. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, the link will be in the description for sure. So thanks so much for listening to the podcast, guys. As always, keep the conversation going, either on Twitter, Facebook. We have a Facebook page. Go like the Facebook page, facebook.com/hungoverpodcast. And you can like us there, keep the conversation going, meet all the Facebook members. They're all awesome people. I believe most of them are Yvonne's friends, but they're all, some of my friends like the page. Of course, we like our friends, so they're awesome people. So go ahead and talk to them. I'm sure they'll like to talk back. And also, you can reach us at all our social media links, which are in the description below. I won't list them out, but they're already listed out for you. And of course, Yvonne, we end our podcast every single week in a song in a segment called Hungover Radio. This is where you, the listener or viewer, get to send in your song, a song that you wrote, produced, played an instrument on, sang a verse on, etc. Or maybe one of your friends wrote, produced, etc., and you want to promote their band, etc. That would be awesome. You can send us an MP3 link. It will go at the end of the podcast at gaminghungover@gmail.com. We will play it at the end of the audio portion, but we'll link it out in the video description, and you can get all the clicks you want. But Yvonne, no one sent in a song yet again. God damn it.
Unfortunate.
So I'm left to think of a song myself. And because I watched so much Stranger Things in the past week, 2 weeks or so, week and a half, I was thinking a lot about the 80s. And when I think about the 80s, Yvonne, I think, and when I can't pick a song because of copyright reasons, due to 80s copyrights, I have to think about video games. And when I think about video games and 80s and video game culture, nerd culture in the 80s, I think about the X-Men. Yvonne, the X-Men are long overdue for a comeback, my friend. They made some crappy movies in the early 2000s. I guess the first X-Men was pretty good. I liked it.
The first two were pretty good.
First two were pretty good. They made some, fine. I'll give them that. But since then, they've been lying dormant because Fox owns the goddamn rights. So I'm telling you, Disney better fucking acquire those rights, because Disney is putting money into Marvel, and Marvel should really own the X-Men, let's be honest.
There are a few good X-Men movies.
Which ones?
Logan. Days of
Besides
Futures Past.
Logan. I forgot Logan. But that one, look, I think that one is
X-Men First Class?
That one was all right. Well, didn't that have a timeline issue?
I mean,
whatever.
They're
I don't
part
care.
of the restarted timeline thing.
Okay, well, those were very far. Wasn't there? How many years were between those movies?
Disagree.
We'll do an X-Men
We're gonna agree to
podcast.
disagree
All right.
on the X-Men universe.
I'm saying the majority of the X-Men movies were bad.
Okay.
I'm not saying there weren't any good. I might have said that literally, but I didn't mean it. Okay? Anyways,
welcome to our First Take podcast.
I picked this song, X-Men Mutant, from the game X-Men Mutant Apocalypse on the Super Nintendo. This is Wolverine's theme. Hope you guys enjoy it, and the 80s theme, even though the SNES was in the 90s. But this is totally an 80s themed game. So I hope you guys enjoyed. God damn it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And I hope you guys enjoy the podcast. So catch you guys next week. Peace out.
Bye.